Hello, cooking enthusiasts. Today's video is about a new pasta topping I've been working on, and I have a few other interesting applications for it. But instead of going through my whole thought process in the beginning, I think I will start with the procedure. These are pizza-flavored breadcrumbs that I've developed over the course of a few months of trial and error. They're pizza-flavored in the sense that they have the flavor of a garlicky, herby tomato sauce. I did try a version with browned cheese on it also, but I found it interfered with the bread's ability to become a breadcrumb. Obviously, the first thing you'll need is bread. You could make as little as half a loaf of breadcrumbs, but I tend to make a pretty big batch, so this recipe is designed to use up almost a full loaf of bread. Of course, you can use any old bread you have lying around, but because this is a very non-standard breadcrumb procedure, you could also buy some inexpensive fresh bread and use that as well. Then you just need to make a really basic pizza tomato sauce. And I actually found that I got the best results using tomato juice. Because even though tomato juice has some thickness to it, it is way thinner than even very smooth pureed tomatoes. And this is important because you want this sauce to really soak into the bread. I ended up flavoring with about 5 cloves of chopped up garlic fried off in a little bit of olive oil first, then went in my 1.7-liter can of tomato juice, although again the exact amounts aren't super important. Then some black pepper and a generous tablespoon of dried basil and dried oregano. I seasoned pretty generously with black pepper, but I went light on the salt because again, this is going to end up being very concentrated. Some red chili flakes would also work well as some anchovies or even fish sauce fried with the garlic, but I decided to keep things super basic. You want to simmer and reduce this sauce for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then you're good. It should cool down to close to room temperature before you get started with the bread, and then you just need to soak both sides of your bread slices in the sauce until they're pretty thoroughly hydrated. Again, depending on your exact amount of sauce and bread, you might end up with some leftover sauce, but it freezes well and is good for pasta and other dishes. Once your bread is soaked in the pizza sauce, I would let it sit, even stacked on top of itself, for a good 20 minutes so the sauce can really start migrating into the bread slices. And then you want to put it on some parchment-lined trays in a dehydrator. I let the saucy bread dehydrate for a good 24 hours, and then it was ready to crush into breadcrumbs. My preferred method is breaking it up a little bit by hand and then blitzing in a food processor in relatively small batches. Once there are no really massive chunks, I sift the breadcrumbs, so I end up with very fine breadcrumbs and chunky breadcrumbs that I keep separate for separate purposes. It might seem roundabout to soak bread only to dehydrate it, but it really allows you to play with flavor and texture in a different way. So often, textural components like breadcrumbs are bland, and then to add flavor requires adding moisture, which can ruin crunchiness. I used the chunky pizza breadcrumbs on top of some mac and cheese, and it was absolutely delicious. I think it could fit in many other pasta dishes as well, just as a topping. I also used the fine breadcrumbs as a coating for some deep fried items. The tomato sauce flavor actually went really well with fried fish, and I'm working on a version of chicken parmesan without much sauce, served more as a bucket of fried chicken. This is one of the simpler procedures I've come up with, so I do highly recommend giving it a try. If you do, please let me know how it goes. If you have any questions or even your own ideas for a flavored breadcrumb, let me know. Otherwise, thank you for watching.